Hello and welcome again. My name is Jason Levine and I'm the Principal Worldwide Evangelist for Adobe Creative Cloud and our video tools. And for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the new features in After Effects CC 2014. Now, today and tomorrow, we'll be giving away a one-year membership of Creative Cloud. So if you haven't already had your badges scanned, my assistant is standing at the back of the booth here. So just raise your hand, we will scan your badge. And if you're feeling lucky, this could be your day to be a recipient of a one-year membership to Creative Cloud. Okay, so got a lot of things to cover, not a lot of time to do it in, so I'm going to start here, and as many of you may know, we had a huge release of all of the applications in Creative Cloud back in June, so a mere 2.5 months ago, and After Effects was among one of the apps that had just lots and lots of updates. Well, the promise of Creative Cloud being continuous innovation, constantly introducing new features and new things. For those of you who already have CC 2014, you'll see that already things are looking quite different, and the bulk of what we've been working on is the interface. And in fact, all of the UIs on Premiere, After Effects, SpeedGrade, Audition, and Prelude have been redesigned. You're getting a sneak peek here at the newly skinned UI for After Effects. It's darker, it's cleaner, we've removed a lot of the unnecessary shading, lines. We've also replaced all that traditional amber orange Adobe text with this color, this lovely shade of blue. So again, a lot of work gone into making this UI cleaner, faster, more efficient, and you're going to see this across all the video apps. And when you guys eventually get this in your hands, coming soon, we really want to hear what you think about it. This is, of course, all of this is evolving, works in progress, so we'd love to hear what you think. I personally think it looks great, it feels great working in it, and when you start working across the applications, there's just something that just feels so right and feels like we've got it where we need it, and really they feel and look more tightly integrated now than ever before. So, new UI. Also want to point out that we now have high DPI support on both Mac and Windows. So coming in this version that you will have soon, full high DPI support on Mac and Windows, including 1.5 and 2x variations there. Also full support on the Surface Pro, and that is across all the video apps. So any of you have a Surface Pro, you may have seen a video with myself and my colleague Dave Helmley showing 4K playback on Premiere in a Surface Pro. It actually works, it actually functions, and these versions will get you there. So if that was something you were interested in, we can now offer that too. All right, so to get started here, we're going to talk about a new feature related to green screen keying. And while we've had Keylight for many years, an industry award-winning effect for green screen and compositing work, extremely powerful, lots of user-definable, editable parameters, and if you know what you're doing in there, you can pull a key really from any source footage. But when you have footage that's, say, unevenly lit, or perhaps you're working with compressed footage, maybe shot on an iPhone or a DSLR, well, pulling a key can be a little bit more challenging. So what we wanted to do, and what you'll find across all the applications in an effort to really simplify the workflows and help you really get further faster, get started faster, we wanted to take Keylight and sort of combine it with some new effects and features to make the process of pulling a key easier and really get amazing results very quickly. So if I go up to the Effects and Presets panel here, and first let me go ahead, I made a little mask around our girl here. This is a character from the film called Waylon's Song, directed by Richard Jobson. So let's go ahead and bring her in. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here, drag her over. Go up to the Effects and Presets panel and type in Keylight. And when I do that, you'll see that we have Keylight now, plus the Key Cleaner and the Advanced Spill Suppressor. So these are the two new effects that I'll be showing you today. Go ahead and drag that on there. And then the first step when using Keylight is that you need to take the screen color. So kind of want to sort of find a neutral point green here. Looks like we may have to do a little work on the screen matte. So let me go ahead and select this. And I'll go into my screen matte settings here, where I'm simply going to adjust the clip black, and adjust my clip white. That looks pretty good. Go back into intermediate result. And already, actually surprisingly, the key looks pretty good. So let's take a look here. I mean, as I'm looking at her hair, I actually see individual strands. I have some nice transparency, the background coming through as I'd expect. This looks amazingly clean. It's a clean key. And why is that? It's not just Keylight doing that. It's because by default, with that effect preset that you saw, we are enabling the key cleaner. Now if I turn this off, now what you can see very vividly, look at all this noise, and you can see suddenly these edges start to get very chunky, very pixelated. And this is the stuff that if you're not familiar with Keylight, or if you're working with heavily compressed footage, this is what takes the most amount of time to get rid of, right? But as you can see, by default with the default settings, and these of course are fully keyframeable, modifiable, key cleaner is enabled, smooth, beautiful, lovely looking. So we're already halfway there, except there's one small problem, which is that she appears to have sort of a green cast, a green halo around her. This is really common. This is that spill, green spill. If you're on blue, it can be the same thing. So again, this is really what separates the professionally pulled keys from the semi-pro ones. If I put it on black, you can really see it here. It's just, she's got this green halo around her. So we need to suppress the green. Well, we've often taken technology from Photoshop and put it into After Effects. I'll be showing you some of that in a moment. In this release, we've also taken tech from After Effects and put it into Premiere Pro, but for the first time, we've actually taken algorithms from Premiere and put them into After Effects. And I'm speaking directly to the effect called the Ultra Keyer. This is found in Premiere Pro. It's a keying tool there, but it has amazing spill suppression technology. So rather than reinvent that, we simply took it from Premiere. That now lives inside of After Effects, and it's called the spill suppressor. Now again, with simple defaults, if I just choose the spill suppressor, pay attention here again to the edges of her hair, that little green halo, simply enable this and it goes away. So before, after, let's go back to white. So before, green haze, pay attention to the skin tone as well, after, neutralize the green. These are just default settings. Pretty awesome looking key. Now, it's actually using the same screen color that we sampled in Keylight. But if you've ever done this kind of work shot on a green screen, oftentimes, more often than not actually, the halo that's generated is not the same shade of green, right? It would make sense because it's almost reflecting off of her, so it's either slightly lighter, just maybe a slightly different hue of green. So sampling that color may not be the way to go. Well, the only thing that's actually tying that screen sample to the spill suppressor is an expression. So simply by twirling down the layer here, you'll see there's the expression. We can simply disable this, and if we go into our ultra method, rather than the standard default method, now you'll see you have this eyedropper here where you can take an independent screen color, and then you have access to all the individual settings of the ultra spill suppressor. So again, this gives you a lot of flexibility, especially wonderful on footage that was heavily compressed or unevenly lit. And we're very, very excited to have this now inside of After Effects because once again, as Andrew Kramer was just saying, this makes it that much easier for people who've never really worked with green screen and probably had limited success pulling a good key to get great results now, regardless of what kind of camera it was shot with, okay? So this is very, very cool and actually extremely easy to use. Now, I'm going to jump into Premiere Pro for a second to talk about some of the shared technologies there. And this is actually something that you just heard moments ago with regard to editors who use After Effects. So as we've gone all around the world since we started CC about 18 months ago and asking editors about their workflows and how they do things, we heard from almost everyone that as editors who work with After Effects, particularly in broadcast, in news, you have the motion graphics department design your lower thirds, and you can see one right here. I'm just going to turn off my sound. And as I scrub through this, this is a little animated lower third. Now, incidentally, this is not a render. This is, in fact, a dynamically linked After Effects project. You can see this is the AEP file right here. So we actually have a live After Effects comp living inside the Premiere Pro timeline. This isn't rendered. This is fully editable at any point in time. And we've got this live text appearing here. Now, if an editor has to change that text, they can right-click, go into After Effects, change it, and come back. But what we found was two things. One, most editors who are just editing didn't really feel comfortable going inside to After Effects because, just like a Photoshop file, that actual text could be contained in a nested comp which lives inside of another nested comp, which has the animation tied to another nested comp, which is an expression tied to something else. It could be very difficult to find. Now they're having to break down the After Effects comp to find the text. Then they modify it. Let's hope they turn back on all the appropriate layers. Of course, they can go back to Premiere. It's happening in real time. But if you have to do this a number of times, multiple times, that's far from an effective workflow. And ultimately, the editor doesn't want to be messing around trying to recompose someone's After Effects comp. So what they asked for was, can't we just have a way to simply edit the text fields? Let's leave the animation, the graphical elements, the motion graphical elements alone. All I want to do is be able to access the text fields. And we've now given that to you. And it's called Live Text Templates. Let's go ahead and pull up our effects controls, and now you will see a panel here, After Effects Editable Text. So right from within Premiere Pro now, if in fact we wanted to say Mari is not from Osaka, she's from Tokyo, I can change that and it instantly changes. She's not Mari with an I, but she's Mary with a Y. It instantly changes. And you can see here, change inside of our source, our program monitor. And again, as I now scrub through this, there is the same animation. Everything's intact, but now we can actually edit the text right inside of Premiere Pro. The editor never has to leave the comfort zone. They're not going to mess about with your graphics. All is good in the world. Now, of course, from here, if you want to go further and you want to modify this inside of After Effects, you can do so. So let me go ahead and open up After Effects, and we'll pull up this master, because I'm sure many of you are probably thinking, well, what do we have to do now to structure this to be able to actually create this template? What other stuff do we have to learn to do that? Well, the great thing is nothing. All you have to do is simply enable one checkbox. So if I go to my composition settings here, go to Advanced, you'll see down below, that really scared me, whatever that was, the template checkbox. Once that box is checked, what this is saying is, if you have that box checked, Premiere Pro will only be able to see, via dynamic link, live text template compositions by design. You can still import other After Effects project files that don't have the template box checked, so other motion graphic elements without this editable text. But if your motion graphics designer sends one to your editor and this box is checked, the editor's only going to be able to see those editable text template comps. And this is what you want, okay? So that's it. That's all you have to do to set this up. Now, that's usually followed by a question, well, how do I prevent them from editing a specific text layer? What if Tokyo, Japan is the location of everybody? I just need to change the name, and maybe they're, in this case, we're featuring different musicians, so maybe we'll put their instrument down here. She's a violinist, one's a cellist, another is a bassoonist. It's as simple as locking the text layer in the comp itself. Therefore, it does not show up as editable inside Premiere. That's it. So it's one checkbox to enable this feature. Lock the layer if you don't want the text field editable, and that can be nested any number of levels that you want, and that's it. So a great way to introduce motion graphics into Premiere Pro and keeping it very simple, and again, keeping and preserving all the work that you did on your motion graphics elements in Premiere Pro and keeping them intact. Okay, now one other technology before we go solely back to After Effects is based around masking and tracking. And for years we've heard customers ask for the ability to have the After Effects masks and tracking capabilities inside Premiere Pro. And now we have this. So in the example here, we've got these two rap guys. They're called Ninja Sonic. And we needed to basically blur out the logo on his hat. This rad brand we didn't have license to show here. So we need to blur this, mask it, and then track his movement and just blur it out. So you can now do this directly in Premiere Pro right on canvas using the After Effects masks and tracking engine. So if I go up to Effects, I'm going to type in Fast, and I'm going to simply add a fast blur to this clip. Now, when I go down to my Effects panel, you'll see that we have the ability to create an ellipse mask, a 4-point polygon mask. Now, these are the two options that we gave you in June when we first released this feature. Now, again, the thing about agile development, this era of Creative Cloud, it's only been out 2.5 months. And in 2 months, we went to the forums to see what customers were saying, and they love this. But they all said, you know, I love the ellipse, I love the 4-point polygon. It would be great if I could just kind of sometimes free draw a mask and then, you know, Bezier handles to round the corners and such. That's really what we want. So now we're giving it to you. So again, it's coming, it's already here, coming in this next version. So let's go ahead and choose the free draw Bezier. I'm going to zoom up to 150%, and let's create our mask. Now again, the idea here is that we've borrowed this tech from After Effects, and I'm going to show you in a moment how really cool this is. So Again, come in here, drag a couple points like that. Again, if I hold down my Alt key, I'll get my Bezier handles here so you can see how that all works like you'd expect. You'll also notice that we've got some new detail here. So we've got mask feathering, which we didn't have as of June. Again, this was a big customer request in the last 2 months. You're already getting it in this next update. And we've also got mask expansion. So I think that's going to be just fine. Let's keep it nice and tight down here. Just set this to 0. And then right on canvas, if we zoom back out, we can use the After Effects tracker to track the motion. Oh, and it's probably helpful if I turn on the blur too. I'll do that once this is done tracking. So once you've got this tracked, of course, there may be more things that you want to do to it, right? Makes sense. So there it is, nice and blurry. Again, we can wind this back, and you can see that the effect stays isolated to the mask. Well, now I want to take it a step further. So from Premiere Pro, once again, I can choose to replace that clip with a live After Effects comp. So this is going to create the dynamic link, bringing us into After Effects, same content. If I twirl this down, you can see there's our mask, there's our fast blur that we just applied, all of our keyframes. And again, now anything that we do here will update the Premiere Pro timeline live without rendering, okay? So complete compatibility, sending keyframes and all your data back and forth via the masking and tracking engine. Such a great addition, and again, one more way that we're bringing these two apps closer and closer together. Now, shifting gears a little bit, this year, of course, it's all about 4K, and it was about 4K last year too, but the difference is that last year, really people, if you walked around the show, people were really still, it just didn't seem like a reality yet, right? Broadcasters knew it was coming, but we weren't quite ready. And Hollywood, of course, has known it's coming, but they're still doing their thing. And we all know we knew it was coming, but maybe everyone wasn't quite grasping it yet. Well, now it's here. It's coming. It's the next evolution. It's not like some things which kind of 3D TV. No, 4K is the next evolution, okay? So what you're looking at here is 1080 content shot. This is a bit older. I shot this in San Francisco a couple of years ago on Canon 7D. 1080 living inside of a 4K plate. So the black area that you see here is the space that we need to fill. Now, how are we going to get there? Well, obviously we need to upscale this. Now, in 2013, we released a new upscaling algorithm on the layer in After Effects, the bicubic scaler. So if I come down to my layer here, let's go ahead and bring up the scale. Let's scale this up 200%. Let's go to 100% view. And if you take a look at this here, we're in draft mode right now. This is the bilinear scaler. So this was the previous, before 2013. This was the best scaling that we had on the layer. And you can already see it's okay. The lines are a little soft. The text in that silver area is also a little bit soft. Not bad. But then we introduced the bicubic scaler. So I'm going to click into it, take a look. And again, subtle, but there's a little more detail. You can see a little bit of that ghosting is gone. The silver text looks a little better. So here's draft, bilinear, bicubic. It's very subtle. It's a little bit better. And it's only a little bit better because this wasn't really designed for this type of scaling. We needed something that was a bit more robust. So coincidentally, last year, we introduced a feature in Photoshop called Preserve Details Enlargement. This was a new scaling algorithm for stills in Photoshop that is absolutely, truly amazing. And the reason is, of course, because photographers, like myself, have been shooting in extremely large rasters for a very long time. I shoot with a Nikon D800, 7500 by 5000 pixels. I shoot 7.5K every day in stills. So why not take the same algorithm that does amazing scaling in extremely high rasters and just make it move? And that's exactly what we did. We took the technology from Photoshop and we put it inside of After Effects and just made it move, and it's called Detail Preserving Upscale. So you can see we've got the effect here. I've actually already applied it to the layer. So let's go ahead and turn this on. We're at the same 200% as you can see here. Let's go into 100% view. And now as we take a look at this, you can actually see that those red lines are actually very clean, not as ghosted as before. The silver text is actually nice and sharp and present. So if we go back to the previous one, here is the bicubic scaler. And again, take a look at the red lines and the silver text. It's a little ghosted, it's a little soft. Here is detail preserving upscale. Before, after, all right? And it's subtle, but it's a little bit sharper, a little bit cleaner, a little bit better. But really, you just have to see what this has done to be impressed by how great this algorithm is. So I'm going to go ahead and open up an export. So here it is exported in 4K. And just to kind of show you here, it's exported as ProRes 422, 4096 by 2304. Let's go ahead and play this back. Now, aside from needing some stabilization, again, this is 1080p shot 4 or 5 years ago on a 7D. Does this look upscaled to you? Does it look softer? Does it look desaturated? Does it look sharper, brighter, cleaner? No, it doesn't look like any of those things either. It looks exactly the same as it did at 1080p, which is exactly what you want. I don't want it to look different upscaled. I want it to be the same. That is the magic of detail preserving upscale. That sounds like a lot of marketing and sales nonsense, doesn't it, Adobe employee in the back? But it's true. This, my friends, is how you're going to bring your archive material, your new material, your existing material like myself that still exists in 1080p, and start editing 4K today. Okay? This algorithm is absolutely amazing, and it's part of Creative Cloud, so if you're not already a Creative Cloud member, get it, download After Effects, start transcoding your content. It's absolutely wonderful. And of course now, you can transcode that content in 4K into QuickTime ProRes, into Avid DNX HD, MXF OP1A, or our new edition GoPro Cineform. Okay, so that's all coming in this next version. Really exciting stuff. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.